Travel back in time with a trip inside the Iowa's News Now vault.
The drama began at 10:30 this morning. Police say 4 or 5 prisoners armed with sawed-off shotguns have taken 4 hostages. One is Fort Madison Security Director James Menke. His 2 assistants, George, Harry, and John Moline, were also taken. A 4th man, a staff member known to us only as Harry, was released by the prisoners slightly before 2 this afternoon. He is reported in good condition. At least 30 more prisoners are reported to be loose in the prison courtyard. The cause of the unrest is not known. The prisoners initially asked for representatives of Fort Madison radio station KBKB and newspaper The Evening Democrat. Early in the afternoon, they allowed 1 television crew into the prison. Governor Ray reportedly heard of the uprising while driving to Des Moines from a governor's conference in Milwaukee. He took a helicopter home and is monitoring the situation from a command post in Des Moines. At about 2 this afternoon, a fire was started in one of the buildings. We know of no injuries from the unrest. A steady stream of patrolmen have been entering the penitentiary since early this morning. Security is tight, and police say they don't remember the last time something like this has happened here. Elizabeth Isham, 2 Action News, Fort Madison.
They won't come out and tell us nothing. Nobody will come out and tell anybody anything, and all these people are waiting to find out something.
Sandy Crowell and her sister-in-law Kathy Barlow have been waiting here since the takeover began late this morning. The suspense has taken its toll on them, and they are blaming state officials for putting them through this ordeal.
I just wish that Governor Ray would come down here and take a look and see some of what's going on. Maybe then he could do something to straighten it out. And if nothing else, make some kind of law that if those hostages or those guards are hurt, that they're going to do something to them.
Throughout the afternoon, law officers gathered at the penitentiary. Troopers from all over the state drove through the barricade with riot gear in the back seats of their cars. Later, we saw why that gear was needed. At around 5 o'clock, a prison spokesman came out to update the news meeting, but he had no information for worried relatives.
I would like to know Daryl Barlow.
I've got a brother named Richard Barlow that's a trainee.
I don't know.
We would like a list of the hostages.
As soon as I get something released to me, I will be down here with everybody's name that I know what I have given to me.
Please try to get
We'll do the best we can.
Sarah Gwynn came down from Waterloo to pick up her son, Clarence Jr. Walton. He was supposed to be released today.
We called down here. He said when we get here, he'll have him released. We called this morning about 10:30 or 11 o'clock.
About that time, I'd say there was probably.
I know we talked to his counselor though, and his counselor said come on down and get him.
There wasn't briefed on what was going on at the time. Sorry.
Sandy Crowell said she'd never thought much about living in the same town as the state penitentiary, but she's thinking a lot about it tonight. She's wondering if her brothers are being held hostage inside and wondering how long it will be before she'll find out if they're all right. Maggie Jensen, 2 Action News, Fort Madison.
The ordeal was shorter than some law enforcement officials expected, but the toll was heavy. A check of the prison kitchen area last night revealed the body of 31-year-old Gary Eugene Tyson. He had been stabbed in the neck. Tyson had been serving 2 concurrent sentences for robbery. The prison itself suffered heavy damage from inmates setting fires and ransacking buildings. The siege began at 10:30 yesterday morning when 5 inmates wielding sawed-off shotguns took 4 staff members hostage. The inmates complained of poor living conditions and demanded to speak to the media. They also wanted to set up a meeting with several state officials, including Governor Ray. That request was turned down. A second group of inmates took 8 more hostages in the afternoon. They demanded amnesty. The hostages were all released unharmed by 9:30 last night, and that brought good news to friends and relatives who were waiting outside the prison.
All I know is he's sitting up there drinking coffee, talking to some of the guards, the administration, about what had happened, and all I really care about is that he's safe.
More than 600 inmates are housed in what's known as the oldest prison west of the Mississippi. Inmates sued the state last year, charging their living conditions were so bad that they violated rights to protection from cruel and unusual punishment. A federal judge agreed, and this year the Iowa legislature approved $3.2 million for improvements at Fort Madison. Security was very tight yesterday. Law enforcement units came from all over the state. At least 7 SWAT teams were on standby. The National Guard waited at the airport, prepared to drop tear gas if necessary. After the hostages were released, helicopters circled the prison as guards rounded up prisoners and put out fires. Elizabeth Isham, 2 Action News, Fort Madison.
I'm Chris George. By this morning, things had quieted down. The inmates were back in their cells, and prison officials were ready to talk about what happened here. Assistant Warden Ron Welder said the fort was secure. State troopers and guards were going cell to cell in search of weapons and other contraband like drugs. For that reason, reporters were not being allowed inside for a look at the damage. During the riot, inmates broke windows, pulled down fences, and set fires. Welder said a maximum security cell house 20, is unusable. 5 other buildings a mess.
Our inside administration building is approximately 80% destroyed.
Is that the deputies' building?
That's the deputies' building.
By fire?
By fire. Most of the office areas were destroyed. All the furniture were gone. The files, things of this nature. Our chapel was destroyed. The infirmary didn't suffer a lot of physical damage, but all sterile items were contaminated. Most of our supplies were destroyed.
The Director of Corrections, Hal Ferrier, promised to review prisoner complaints of poor living conditions, but he wasn't sure there would be any changes in daily life behind bars. Ferrier had only kind words for the prison staff and state troopers.
I was exceptionally impressed by how the situation was handled. I think anytime you have 15 hostages, you get them out, you have the situation under control in 10 hours, you've been successful.
Chris George, 2 Action News, Fort Madison.